Well, we're going to turn to our first feature article of the day, of the show here, the aerospace industry. As we know, it can be an extremely lucrative industry sector for manufacturers, suppliers, and service providers. But like most things in life and business, those opportunities for great success are matched by some major challenges. So to get a sense for what kinds of opportunities and challenges we're talking about here, think about the fact that the average aircraft has anywhere from 1.2 million to 3 million components. And that means suppliers, lots of suppliers, are involved in the assembly, manufacture, and servicing of even a small airplane. Many are called to the sector due to the potential profit margins, makes sense, but only the best suppliers can achieve long-lasting success. And the key really is adherence to standards, in this case, AS9100, the quality management system standard that's specific to aerospace. AS9100 is not optional, very important to note, not optional for those wanting to become a supplier within aerospace. But the good news is that AS9100 uses ISO 9001 as its base, so those that are registered to the latter are already well on their way to achieving certification to the former. Of course, the devil, as always, is in the details, and to help us better understand the challenges and opportunities found in the aerospace industry, as well as the way that AS9100 helps suppliers really take off. We're going to be talking to Gene Morrison of Intertek. He's Intertek's Global Aviation, Space, and Defense Program Manager. He's also an AS9100 lead auditor. And we actually have a webinar with Gene coming up next week on Thursday, the 16th of November. You can see Gene's article there that he wrote for us, Aerospace Faces Challenges as Market Rapidly Expands. We have Gene on Skype, or we had Gene on via Skype, but I think we actually lost him, we dropped him. That happens sometimes, it's a live show, but we'll get Gene back. But meanwhile, I'll tell you a little bit more about the webinar that we're doing next week, and maybe Christopher can flash up the slide that has wherever there is. And again, this is next week. This is Thursday, November 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. It's a live webinar, as we say there, elevating into the aviation, space, and defense industry. Gene Morrison of Intertek is going to be presenting. Dirk's going to be hosting, and we'll be presenting that webinar to you on Thursday. Some of you have already registered for that webinar. If you haven't, get on it because it's going to be a good one. We certainly want you to check that one out and learn more about AS9100. So yeah, we're going to try to get Gene back, but in the meantime, I'll tell you a little bit about this industry that we're talking about here, AS9100 and aerospace. I mean, as we say, it's a complicated thing. I mean, if you are ISO 9001 registered, certified already, and you want to play in the space, you've got to get to be AS9100 registered, certified, and that's where a company like Intertek comes in. And that's what the webinar is going to really be about, is talking about suppliers and the supply chain and what you can do if you are a supplier and you're interested in coming into the industry. Of course, as we say, very profitable. The opportunities are great. The challenges are high too, though, because really you need to be, again, AS9100 registered in order to get into the space. So if you're not, you're kind of stuck. You need to make sure that you work with a company, get registered, and go from there. And I think we do now have Gene back. Gene, are you there with us?
Yes, I sure am. I'm very happy to be on the show. And I'm not in Disneyland.
That's good to know. You're in Illinois, I believe.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Gene. Thanks for bailing me out there. I was tap dancing a little bit, not an expert myself, of course. So maybe you can help us a little bit. You can start with the basics. So why is AS9100 an imperative for aerospace suppliers? In addition to being, of course, a requirement for doing business, how does it help companies compete?
Okay, very good. That's two questions. And let me start with, certainly because of the industry we're in, it's unlike any other industry, aviation, space, and defense, and the catastrophic consequences that can happen with our products and services if we don't do it right and we don't get it right the first time. A little bit of background, the International Aerospace Quality Group, that's the group of OEMs that oversee the scheme and oversee the systems. It governs anything we do within AS. It covers all the stakeholders, accreditation bodies, certification bodies like Intertek, and auditors, as well as companies that are registered to AS9100. The key goal of the IAQG is to improve the supply chain at every level, at all levels within the supply chain. And that is why it must have a series of standards like AS that make sure everybody is meeting the same requirements. It's independently audited, and there's an objective look for all the companies to make sure that everybody's following the requirements. The AS standard helps businesses compete because it puts companies in a position and a level playing field with all the other AS suppliers. In addition, it provides a consistent approach to satisfying the business needs and customer requirements while continually improving their businesses. In addition, it improves the focus on the suppliers, since that's the main focus of the standard, improving the supply chain at all levels. The companies that supply directly to the industry must also control their suppliers to the same level. It helps businesses establish a more robust business management system. It helps them identify best practices across the industry, and we make our clients aware of those as we do our audits. In addition, it positions the organization to expand into a multi-billion-dollar global industry, reduces the business overall risk, and we focus on cost, schedule, and performance. So we work hard to make sure we improve their business systems. In addition, they get more customers. They can tap into the $674 billion aviation and defense industry, and of that, $350 billion is in the space industry. It just heard that the U.S. Senate recently approved $826 billion defense budget for 2018. So you can see the kind of opportunity that getting into this business offers our clients.
Yeah, 2/3, if I can spool that back and just point that out, 2/3 of $1 trillion, $673 billion, I think you said, in this industry. That's a big opportunity
it's very big. It's very big.
And as I say, it's growing fast, and a lot of that's due to new players coming in the field. For example, I mean, maybe you can talk a little bit about how the advent of private space exploration has really changed the scope and scale of the sector.
Yes, I sure can. I tell you, the space industry, or NASA's budget last year was $19.6 billion. They're finalizing the 18 budget now, and we hear that it's going to be cut $1 billion. So the government spend on the space program is going to be reduced. But the good news is the commercial space industry is expected to spend $350 billion on their development efforts. NASA then will become more of a oversight role and obviously use all those commercial businesses to do their job in the future.
Amazing. I mean, the numbers you're talking about there are just really mind-boggling. And I mentioned in the run-up to the article that you wrote an article for us, and that you mentioned that ISO 9001 registered companies really aren't that far off from achieving AS9100 certifications as well. But then you write, this is interesting, if it's so easy, why isn't every company certified to AS9100? Which is a good question. So what's the answer?
Thanks, Mike. Well, I'll tell you, currently ISO 9001 companies, if they're certified to 9001 2015, the new version, they're approximately 75% there. That 25% in addition is challenging to some purely commercial businesses. As I mentioned previously, there are so many requirements in that 25% that will help a business improve their QMS as well as reduce risks and increase efficiency over time. The difficulty for non-industry organizations lies in properly positioning themselves for what comes next. What comes after the upgrade? What do we do next? Entering an unfamiliar market without a broad understanding of the industry can be a challenge for businesses who want to make that transition. At the same time, the return on investment and profit margin, the potential is huge. Most manufacturers already have the machines, the materials, and the processes to adjust their assembly lines, but they require a knowledgeable network that can help them map the landscape of the industry and enable their success. Intertech can provide those tailored services to help these organizations transition successfully.
And we're doing a webinar on this topic next week, as I teased. And you're going to talk about really the entry modes for suppliers into aerospace. I don't want to steal your thunder from next Thursday because we're all looking forward to that, but maybe you can give us a little sneak preview of your presentation and explain a little bit about how the entry occurs and what it may mean for original equipment manufacturers as well as the suppliers themselves.
Sure can, Mike. Certainly, we're excited to present a roadmap for any ISO certified company to position themselves to become a top quality aviation, space, and defense supplier. Some of the topics of the webinar we're doing next week include benefits of upgrading to AS9100G and the return on investment that they might realize from this upgrade. We'll talk about the AS aviation, space, and defense industry, the market in general, and what the potential and opportunities are. We'll talk about incentives for upgrading from ISO 9001 to AS9100. We'll talk about our Intertech Aerospace program currently. We have approximately 500 clients and sites certified around the globe. And we want to introduce some of those clients and let them know what our process includes currently for aviation, space, and defense. We'll also talk about some of the key differences between ISO 9000 and AS 91000. And we'll do that in sufficient detail so that that information can be used as a roadmap to them as they're moving forward to transition to AS 9100. Additionally, we'll talk about some added Intertech services that might help them be more successful in their transition. And then certainly we'll talk about the upgrade and transition process and the steps that it will take. And then certainly we'll identify points of contact, including questions and experts in the industry that might help them along.
Wow, that's great, Gene. That's an ambitious agenda. I would certainly encourage everyone out there to check that out. Again, the webinar is called Elevating into the Aviation, Space, and Defense Industry. The event occurs, this webinar, on Thursday, November 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Gene, right there, is going to be your presenter, and Dirk's going to return to host. So keep an eye on your email inbox for more information, invitation, or you can click on the link in Gene's article just below the video player screen right down there, and you can register there. Gene, thanks again for joining us. We're going to see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Mike. I look forward to it.
Have a good weekend. We'll see you then. And yeah, as I mentioned, you can see, kind of get a flavor for it right from there. Gene's got a lot of information about the standard, about what it takes to kind of use what you're already doing with ISO 9001 and transition into that industry. It's a really interesting industry full of a lot of opportunity for those that may want to come in as a supplier.